Lesson 5, CDS, Introduction to Medication Support, Follow-up, Communication, and Documentation of Medications. After completing this lesson, you will increase your understanding about PRN, special situations, errors, and medication disposal. PRN, pro re nata. PRN medications are those prescribed by a physician to be given on an as-needed basis. Can be prescription or OTC. Some agencies have specific policies and procedures for administering PRNs. PRN. Some medications will be prescribed by the physician to be given only on an as-needed basis. These medications are called PRN, pro re nata. PRN medications can be over-the-counter, OTC, such as Tylenol, Imodium, allergy medications, or Blistex, or prescription medication, e.g., lorazepam and oxycodone. Over-the-counter medications that are prescribed to be taken at specific times, such as a multivitamin, are not PRN medications. Some PRN prescription medications can only be administered with authorization from physicians, nurses, behavior specialists, or supervisors. If your agency requires authorization to administer certain PRN prescriptions, you should know how to reach the authorizer or designee immediately. PRN, 3 issues to consider. 1. Does the person need the medication? 2. What medication is the person able to have for the symptoms? 3. When did the person have the medication last? Administration. When administering any PRN medication, there are 3 issues that need to be considered. 1. Does the person need the medication? Is the person telling you about "my right ear hurts" or showing symptoms, e.g. crying, rubbing forehead, squinting, tugging on ear, etc., that could require medication? Do you think this person is asking for the wrong medication, such as Imodium, for constipation? 2. What medication is the person able to have for the symptoms? Check the person's standing order form or OTC prescription to see what is prescribed for that person. Some people are allergic to certain medications. Some medications interact with other medications the person may be taking. And some medications don't work the way they are meant to. Do not assume that everyone can have medications such as aspirin or Tylenol. 3. When did the person have the medication last? Sometimes the symptoms return before the next dose can be given. Remember that medications have limits on how often they can be taken. Always make sure that the full time has passed before administering the next dose. Also make sure that the same medication was not given for a different symptom within the same time frame. In the meantime, try to make the person comfortable while waiting. Once you have the right answers to all 3 questions, you are now ready to give the medication and follow the procedures administering it. PRN medication sheet. Use the same medication sheet form to document a PRN medication. OTC PRN medications cannot be on the same medication sheet as prescriptions. OTC PRN medications do not require a medication sheet until the first dose is needed. Prescription PRN medication should be recorded immediately. You must write on the back of the medication sheet what you gave and why, write in your program's communication log what you gave and why, verbally communicate to the next shift what you gave and why. The main differences in setting up the PRN medication sheet are: write PRN in the hours box when using the type of medication sheet in this manual, since we will not know when the person will need the medication. Write the maximum amount in 24 hours, e.g., not to exceed 6 doses in a 24-hour period, in the medication box. If a stop date is indicated, be sure to write that in the medication box. PRN follow-up, including additional documentation. Once a PRN medication is administered, it is important to check the person 1 to 2 hours later to see if it's working. This may mean calling home or work for follow-up. If the medication isn't helping enough, contact the doctor or advanced practice nurse to look for other options. As a staff person, it is our responsibility to document the results on the back of the medication sheet and in your agency's critical log. On the next page is an example of an over-the-counter medication orders for the use as needed. On the next page is an example of a completed PRN medication sheet. The following information would have been written on the back of the med sheet for Linda Miller. This information can be written in portrait or landscape view. October 9th, 2013, at 10 a.m., 2 teaspoons of Robitussin cough suppressant DM was given to Linda Miller because she was coughing frequently. Eileen Salba. October 9th, 2013, at 10 a.m., I called her day program, and they said Linda was not coughing very often. Eileen Selba. October 9th, 2013, at 4 p.m., Linda Miller was coughing a lot again, so I gave her 2 teaspoons of Robitussin cough suppressant DM. Dave Bade. October 9th, 2013, at 5:30 p.m., I noticed Linda was not coughing as much. Sandy Howell. October 11th, 2013, at 5 a.m., Linda Miller woke up coughing. 2 teaspoons of Robitussin cough suppressant DM were given to her. Dave Bade. October 11th, 2013, at 7 a.m., Linda was sleeping soundly and not coughing. Dave Bade. October 13th, 2013, at 10:30 a.m., Linda Miller was coughing frequently. 2 teaspoons of Robitussin cough suppressant DM were given. Eileen Salba. October 13th, 2013, at 12:30 p.m., Linda was still coughing frequently. I contacted Dr. Barry, who said to continue with the medication for now and to call him tomorrow if the cough has not improved. Dave Bade. October 13th, 2013, at 4:30 p.m., Linda Miller was given Robitussin cough suppressant DM because she was still coughing. Dave Bade. October 13, 2013, at 6:30 p.m., Linda Miller was not coughing as much. We will contact the doctor tomorrow. Dave Bade. 2 types of errors. Documentation error. Occurs when the medication has been given, but some type of documentation is wrong. Medication error. Occurs when the medication has been administered incorrectly or not given at all. You must contact the prescriber. Follow your agency's policies and procedures. Documentation error. A documentation error is when the medication has been given, but some type of documentation is wrong, e.g., forgot to sign the wrong place, put a code X in the wrong place, etc. The first step for the person who discovers the error is to circle the box on the medication sheet in red. This informs the other staff that there's a problem, therefore stopping that error from causing further potential damage. Circling in red is the responsibility of the staff discovering the error and should never be passed on to another staff person, e.g. manager, nurse, etc. Staff should never be told not to circle in red. Next, you must find out what happened. Check the packaging, e.g. bubble packs, cassettes, spools, etc., to see if the medication was given. If packaged in a bottle, check with the staff that was responsible for administering the medication during that time to see if it was given or not. If the medication was given but not documented correctly, a documentation error has occurred. You must explain what happened on the back of the medication sheet and sign your full name. In the case of a documentation error, staff should never go back and initial inside the empty red circle. Thus, to avoid this, put one line through the empty red circle. Sample of a documentation error. Month, day, year. Betty's 10 a.m. Dilantin given but not initialed for by staff Tim Reed. Jasmine Woods. Medication error. A medication error is when the medication has been administered incorrectly or not given at all. The first step for the person who discovers the error is to circle the box on the medication sheet in red. This informs the other staff that there is a problem, therefore stopping that error from causing further potential damage. Circling in red is the responsibility of the staff discovering the error and should never be passed on to another staff person, e.g. manager, nurse, etc. Staff should never be told not to circle in red. Next, you must find out what happened. If when checking with the staff you find out that the medication was given incorrectly or not given at all, a medication error has occurred. If that staff person is no longer present on shift, it is handled as a medication error. Call your supervisor or designated agency personnel and then call the physician unless otherwise directed by your supervisor. When giving details, include whether or not you know the medication was given. Follow his or her instructions. On the back of the medication sheet, write the instructions you were given, or write that you documented the information in the critical log. There are times that the prescriber may not return your calls, but you still want an answer about what to do next. In those cases, you should check with your supervisor or designated agency personnel about what to do. It may involve contacting the pharmacist and then documenting his or her instructions. If your agency's policy allows you to contact the pharmacist, then you must document your attempts to reach the prescriber on the back of the medication sheet along with the pharmacist's instructions. Agencies have different policies for when they want staff to notify supervisors. You should check with your agency's policies for specifics. Not all medication errors can be circled on the front of the medication sheet, e.g. pharmacy packaging error, as this would be handled before putting on the medication sheet. But documentation must be done on the back of the medication sheet. An unusual incident report may be required. Follow your agency's policies on how to handle these situations. Types of errors. There are two types of errors: documentation and medication. The following shows steps to take in the event an error has occurred. Error 1. Circle in red. Find out what happened. Documentation error 2. Write what happened on the back of the medication sheet. Error 1. Circle in red. Find out what happened. Medication error 2. Contact the prescriber. Provide details. Follow orders. 3. Write his or her instructions on the back of the medication sheet. 4. Complete an in-house and/or unusual incident report, UIR. Reminder: for both a documentation error and a medication error, staff should never go back and initial inside an empty red circle. Thus, to avoid this, put one line through the empty circle in red. Special situations. There may be situations that result in medication administration process being changed. 1. Documentation. You cannot give a medication if you do not have the medication sheet, it is hard to read, the prescription copy is missing, information is incorrect, or if anything does not match. Follow your agency's procedure on what to do next or who to contact. 2. Label issues. If you cannot read the pharmacy label, or it is not intact, you need to get a new pharmacy label from the pharmacist before you can administer the medication. 3. Mishandled medication. Any medication which has been mishandled must not be administered and must be disposed of by following your agency policy. Mishandled medication includes medications being touched by staff, dropped on the floor or counter, spilled, etc. Follow your agency policy on medication disposal and make sure that a new medication is administered. 4. Change in health. If the person has a sudden change in health, e.g. seizure, vomiting, etc., handle the health situation first. If a sudden change in health is possibly life-threatening, you must call 911 immediately. If the change is not life-threatening, contact the prescribing person and ask what to do next. The prescribing person may ask you to give the medication later or skip the dose entirely. Follow verbal order information according to this training module. 5. Medication looking different. If the medication looks different than it usually does, different color, shape, marking, etc., then you must contact the pharmacist before administering it. Sometimes the medication may be from a different generic company, so the different look may be okay. Other times, the different look may be because a mistake was made at the pharmacy, so we need to get the correct medication. 6. Refusal. If the individual refuses to take the medication, do not bribe, nag, lecture, force, lie, or threaten. This should not become a power struggle with the person. People have the right to refuse their medication. However, we have a responsibility to encourage the person to take it. Here are some suggestions. Ask the individual why they are refusing and discuss their concerns. Document the concerns and follow up with the doctor as needed. Explain to the individual why the medication was prescribed and what could happen if it's not taken. Give the person a couple of minutes and then try again. Ask a coworker to try. If the individual still refuses, this may not be a reflection on your effort. Follow your agency's procedures for documentation. Write R in the box on the medication sheet and follow any other procedure your agency requires. Disposing of medication. 1. Medications that are outdated, mishandled, or no longer in use must be disposed of, e.g., returned to the pharmacy or destroyed according to your agency's policy. 2. The disposal of medication is to be witnessed and documented on the back of the medication sheet. The documentation must include the date, time, name, and dosage of medication, reason for disposal, and 2 full signatures, the person discarding the medication and the witness. 3. When a medication is left after the individual's death, certain procedures must be followed for disposing of the unused medication. Contact your supervisor for more information. Agency follow-up. The information you have learned is based on rules developed by the State of New Jersey and the Division of Developmental Disabilities. Your agency must follow these rules. Your agency may have additional policies and procedures, e.g., where the key for the medication is located, what forms to use in regards to medication administration, and should train you in the specifics before you administer medications independently.